On today's Man of the Apes, we are recording because Richard's finally finished with his snacks, and we are not doing an ASMR episode.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Exercise with an ape maker, human down. It talks. You're the keepers of the divine bound. It is our only reason for survival. We are determined to know what the apes want. War or peace? The only good human is a dead human!
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. That's Sean, and empty-mouthed now Richard is right. That's kind of gross.
That sounds terrible.
But
oh my goodness, wow.
The poor thing, we're like, hey, could you please finish your breakfast? And poor thing is like shoving in, so that's
fast as he could, yeah.
So here we are Monday morning, and I already told the guys we're going to start right away with a little bit of housekeeping. Joe Meeb, who is probably one of our oldest fans, has been.
You don't mean age-wise.
I don't mean oldest. He's been with us the longest.
Longest fan.
Joe, that was no dig on you. I know you got a kid. I know about roughly what age you are. I didn't mean to call you old. However, Joe took the time when we recently had some episodes to let us know that the original films do reference God. We had a little bit of a hang-up about, hey, what happened to the lawgiver? Why aren't we going through this? Joe is fantastic at getting back with us, and maybe it is that relationship that he's been around with us for a while and knows that he can reach out to us. The rest of you out there, don't ever hesitate to let us know if you find those things, because we're doing the best we can to go along in these films, finding these things, and sometimes you get knee-deep in it, and you're so caught in the quagmire of a minute that it feels as though there's a stumble by the films. Is that a fair thing to say, a stumble? So Joe, thank you for calling us out. Thank you for setting us straight. We do appreciate it. I'm sorry it took a while. Those episodes were
recorded a long time ago.
A long time ago, and here we are. At least we're getting to answer it, and you'll hear this in a few weeks from it. So, is that enough housekeeping? Anybody else need to say anything straight?
No.
Richard's just happy I'm not calling him out for eating anymore.
Busting him anymore.
All right, so here we are, minute 51
All right.
of Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Sean, tell us what's going on.
We start minute 51 with the caravan of cars going into what I assume is Camp 11, and ends with the interrogator saying that Zero withheld info for the safety of herself and her unborn child.
And here comes minute 51 of Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
When we were in space, we saw bright, white, blinding light.
Brighter than this?
Then we saw the rim of the earth melt. Then there was a tornado in the sky.
That's your voice, isn't it?
How can I tell? I don't even remember.
Why don't you remember?
Because Dr. Hassline made me drunk.
Why did you tell something to Dr. Hassline when drunk that you never told the commission when sober? Because you and your husband were frightened for the safety of yourselves and your unborn child?
As of minute 51, we have a planet worth of humans, 2 living apes, 1 who's pregnant, and 1 dead ape.
1 who's pregnant. So shouldn't it be... Are you designating one of the apes as pregnant, or is there a third who's pregnant?
Well, the pregnancy has not come to term yet, so it is not a person.
Okay. So
if we're considering ape people, yeah.
We're getting into the issue.
It's not an ape yet until it's born. Yeah.
So I want to start right away from the actual layout of this scene. That you get a lot of driving in this, but it is a beautifully directed scene from that standpoint, because we get camera movement that takes us on the journey going right to left with the car as the car turns against camera direction and turns into the gates. There's a lot of, a lot of showing them drive. Every car drives in and the gate
fully closes.
It does, but what is beautifully done, and this is something that's overlooked in film far too often, is the construction of what's going on, the busy work.
Right.
Because the car comes, like I said, right to left, then turns against camera direction, so it's going positive, and eventually it's going to turn right. So that everything doesn't just seem like it's going right. The background extras are going against the action. If you watch it, you get a lot of leftward movement from the background so that it has an opposition. It feels busy. And at the very last, we get these people going across. It's really one of those screen directions that, the assistant director went to the director and said, here's how I'm going to set it up. I'm thinking this and this. It's just beautifully on display.
Well, they were originally actually supposed to stop at a gate.
Oh, they were supposed to stop.
The original script instruction says they would have to have a security guard who gets signed in, and Cornelius is fascinated by the gate latch and clicks, and the guard opens the gate, and they salute and move through. So they just kind of went for a basic just drive into the Camp 11. There is a sign on the gate that says Camp 11. It looks like a nice California winter day. Like you can see kind of the leaves are off on the trees, but still a little bit of green. It's a very arid climate that you see around. It's got very California buildings with kind of like low roofs, and there's a window unit on one of the buildings. Gate's yellow. There is a little bit of a guard thing, but there's no guard in it. It's just kind of it's a nice setup for it.
It definitely has that feel of, if you've ever been out to the San Francisco area, they're now, I believe, apartments, but they used to be dwellings for military families, and it has the same kind of feeling, very open, very arid.
Right.
Except there's something ominous because there's a tower, and it also says restricted area warning. So the moment you get a restricted area warning, you kind of in for some bad stuff.
Yeah, I would still want to know if they staged those signs, or if there actually was a Camp 11 that they didn't have a fast signs where they could run out and just make these things real quickly, but they had an entire props department that could create them as well.
They had to have had something here. I mean, I'm looking at the shot right now, and you've got two hills with fences, and they're nicely done fences constructed. This film is operating so economically on its budget, whatnot. I can't imagine that they would build hills, build fences. This had to be an existing structure of some sort. I did look to see, and I couldn't find any notes on it.
On a Camp 11 or anything like that?
Or even on a military base where it was shot. I didn't find that immediately, but once again, there you go. Our listeners, if you know where it is, please tell us. We would love to know. But cool little area, got yellow fences, green buildings. It definitely feels like we're entering into a bad place.
Right. Jeep with military officers, Dr. Dixon's car with our two aponauts in it, and Dr. Branton going in as well, and then followed behind by another Jeep with two military officers. There was supposed to be a scene in the car where Lewis talks to them and says, "I wish I knew how to advise you. They may try to make you angry. Don't be, or you'll be trapped into the wrong answers. Try to keep polite." And Cornelius is like, "You hear that, Zira?"
Again, giving Zira shit all the time.
But we didn't get any of that. We didn't really even need that. We just kind of know they're walking into a new situation.
Yeah, because if that had been in there, it would have been even stranger, because they drive him to the camp. They tell them they're going to be interrogated. Then they put him in a pitch black room and turn on the lights for him.
So
try to blind them.
Do you want to talk about the next moment?
Yeah, let's go.
Because the scene just goes black.
Yeah.
The only thing I was going to throw in is now I've looked ahead and it's trying to watch these, you will miss details. So I think I just took for granted the Camp 11 side, but what kind of I find humorous is it's written Camp 11. In the middle is almost like a shield that has the Roman numeral 11. So it's technically Camp 11.
Yeah.
But yes, let's move ahead.
So once they drive in, the gates close, and then all of a sudden we're just kind of struck with this moment where everything is just pitch black.
Yes.
I had to look for a second to make sure I hadn't hit pause on my player to verify. Yeah, exactly. Like, what happened? Where'd it go?
It's a cool moment. Immediately, I've tossed out many times, hey, the film's changing here, and for various plot reasons, it has changed before, but now the tone is changed to the point where this is a very ominous type thing. In pitch black, we don't know what's occurring.
I will give you that the setup for the next minute and the next few minutes is marked by this pitch black moment with the screen. However, I kind of giggled when the he's called E1, the agent suddenly turns on a desk lamp to light our two characters, which means him and everybody else have been
We're sitting in the pitch dark. Yes.
We don't see Zero and Cornelius moved into this room. It's like they were brought into a room, the lights were turned out, we got a nap, and then suddenly he turns on and goes, boo, everybody awake?
Well, I agree. It's such a jarring cut that usually what you'll see film language will be is that they'll pop white all of a sudden, like the light has come on, and we as the audience will be blinded. And when our eyes acclimate, we look back and Zero's doing that. It's a simple trick. I was shocked they didn't add that in because you're right. Everybody's sitting in dark. There are people.
The interrogator should be.
Yeah,
they
don't even have lights on the tape playback machine. Eventually, how is he queuing anything up?
It's one of those scenarios that would have worked better and probably been scarier is if you were black from Zero's point of view because there was something over her head.
Yeah,
True.
That's
a good idea.
All of a sudden the light is on, as opposed to random agents sitting in a room and going, "Here's a desk lamp."
Mm-hmm.
And why is that
Right.
bright to you? We're all sitting in the dark.
And why did they put him back in their ape outfits instead of just leaving him in human clothes?
Because we've degraded them now, Sean. We've taken them out of being humans.
But to them, that's not degrading. That's their clothes. As a matter of fact, they're not dressing like the subhumans that they're used to in the future.
Right.
So to them, probably that's more civilized to wear their clothes.
Well, I think maybe in a modern film, they might have taken them out of their clothes completely and truly made them into apes, and we would have seen just hairy bodies. Yeah. But you're not going to do that in the 70s, so I think that's probably why they wanted to strip them back to now they are definitely alien to our world. Right? I love it whenever I say comments like that, and I look at both of you just sort of going, okay.
Technically, they're not.
And just shaking heads.
They're not alien to our world. They are from this world, just in a different time
but you
period.
know what I mean. They're alien to the way of thinking,
To our society.
There you go. One thing that struck me while watching this, and it goes towards what I'm reading right now. I'm reading the actual book, the Netflix show Mindhunter. Mm-hmm. Have you watched that?
I've not watched the show, no.
Excellent
really
show.
Good, yeah.
Really well done by David Fincher, Supreme Director. I'm reading the book that the actual man wrote, and the first part of it, he's really talking about the culture of working for the FBI, CIA in the early 70s. And I swear that as watching this, I was like, there's what he's talking about, which was these almost nerdy type suit type things. And we see it a bit in that show where he's treated like, ooh, you're here with their perfect little haircuts. I almost thought that maybe for the first time since the Statue of Liberty, these films touched on something that was true in the society. People's paranoia and fear of government agencies like this, of being pulled and interrogated, because he talks about that he couldn't even get people to talk to him. They were so afraid. And here they play on that paranoia. I don't know that anything in the second film touched as immediately upon what that day's thinking might be. And I think at this very moment, they actually said people are afraid and paranoid of this type of thing. I thought it was a pretty brave and intelligent choice at that point.
I'm looking up something.
I've stumped Richard.
Sorry, I'm just trying. I'm thinking about this minute and processing everything. Yeah,
because it came out in 1971. Nixon was president then,
right?
And he resigned in 1974. So
it's
distrust
the
of government is right there. Yeah,
right. And I think that, that's, you can go back to the original Star Wars where Lucas played on some of that stuff by the evil empire and
the Senate being shut down.
Yeah. And stormtroopers is still tapping into World War II paranoia. So to pull these kind of things is a pretty smart choice. And so I thought Dane referencing, let's put them in a controlled situation where you've been removed from society, probably plays on a lot of people's fears from that time. I have no idea where to go with that when I look at it.
Sorry.
I think I took the conversation to a place where Richard did not expect.
So I guess I'm moving on. Whenever you first hear Zero talking, did you think that was her drugged again, or did you think it was a recording?
At the very first, yes, I did think it was her talking.
I thought they had drugged her up again.
Oh,
right?
I immediately recognized it as what she had said to Hassline earlier and thought it was a recording. They were playing something back to try and get some type of response from her. Well, after the lights come up and we see Zero and Cornelius kind of like react to the light suddenly coming on, and E1 kind of, looking at them, having turned the light on, it then kind of moves to a corner of the room where we see a gentleman with an actual tape recorder. He's E2, as he's named in the script. E1 is amiable and E2 is icy. But I didn't quite get the sense of that as we play out the next minute and so on, that they have the different personalities.
Can I... E1? What is that in reference to? E what? What does E stand for?
I don't know. It just says E1.
I could almost imagine Agent 1, Agent 2, but
Yeah,
E
or
is...
I1 for interrogator or something.
Yeah.
I don't see anything in the script other that says Hassline seated between E1, amiable, and E2, icy.
Maybe it's extra 1, extra 2. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're only credited in the script as when they speak. You get E1 and E2.
I would like to be E3.
You'd like
That
to be
is my
E3?
new designation going forward.